Boundaries help you protect yourself so you can keep giving without running dry. And remember, you can only care for your loved ones in the long run if you are balanced and have something to give. Welcome to Soul Time, a show that explores the world of unlocking your unique potential. My name is Dr. Katja Makowka, and I'm a teacher at school, a former teacher at universities, and a stress and mental coach. And I'm your host. Have you ever noticed how often we feel the urge to explain ourselves? Why we said no? Why we changed our mind? Why we want something different? Let's start with the obvious question. Why do we feel such a strong pull to explain our choices in the first place? At the heart of it, over-explaining usually isn't about clarity. It's about comfort. We want to make the other person comfortable with our decision. And just as importantly, we want to make ourselves comfortable with their reaction. Think about it. When you tell someone, I can't make it tonight, and then instantly follow up with, because I have so much work and I'm really tired and I haven't been sleeping well. What's happening there? Deep down, you are not just giving information. You are trying to soften the no, to manage how the other person sees you, and to protect yourself from the possibility that they will be upset, disappointed, or think less of you. It's human. We want to be liked, accepted, and understood. Many of us were taught from an early age to be good, to avoid conflict, and to keep the peace. And over-explaining becomes a strategy to maintain that, even at the cost of our boundaries. But here is the problem. When you explain too much, you send a subtle message to yourself and to others that your no or your yes on its own isn't valid enough, that your choices require permission. And over time, this habit chips away at your confidence. So before we move forward, I want you to pause and notice. How often do you explain yourself in situations where a simple, clear answer would have been enough? Because becoming aware of that pattern is the first step to changing it. You maybe think over-explaining is harmless and it's polite. So why is it actually a problem? Because every time you do it, you pay a hidden price. The first cost is your energy. Over-explaining is exhausting. Instead of giving a short, honest response, you are layering on justifications, details, and reassurance. That mental loop drains you. And often, the other person doesn't even need or ask for all of it. The second cost is your confidence. When you explain yourself too much, you reinforce the belief that your choices aren't valid unless someone else understands or approves of them. And over time, this chips away at your self-trust. You start to second guess simple decisions, wondering, is this okay? Do I need to defend this? And the third cost is your relationships. Over-explaining doesn't always bring people closer. It can actually create distance. Sometimes it makes you sound defensive or like you are apologizing for existing. And the more you hand others the power to validate your choices, the harder it becomes to have genuine, balanced connections. So, yes, explaining seems like a bridge, but too much of it can turn into a cage. And here is the thing. The people who truly respect you don't need a full speech. They honor your yes and your no because they honor you. Which brings us to the real question. If over-explaining costs so much, how do we start breaking free from it? And here is the tricky part. Most of the time, we don't even notice we are over-explaining until after it's already happened. It feels automatic, almost like a reflex. So the first step toward change is simply awareness. How do you know when you have slipped into over-explaining? Pay attention to these cues. Your body gives it away. Maybe your chest tightens, your heart speeds up, or you feel a rush of urgency to make the other person get it. That's often your nervous system racing for judgment or conflict. You go beyond the answer, the simple answer. If someone asks, "Can you make it tonight?" and your reply is a 5-minute rundown of your schedule and your mood, that's a clue. You feel guilty saying no. Instead of letting no stand, you pad it with reasons so the other person won't be disappointed. You hear yourself repeating, "You already explained," but you cycle back as if your first explanation wasn't enough. The key is to catch yourself in those moments, not to judge yourself, but to pause and notice. Awareness is powerful because it gives you a choice. And here is a simple check-in you can use. Before you launch into all the reasons, ask yourself, am I explaining to share or am I explaining to seek permission? If it's the second one, that's a sign you are slipping into over-explaining. The good news is, once you can recognize it, you can start to shift it. Which brings us to the next step. What can you do instead? How do you respond clearly and kindly without feeling like you owe a full justification? So now that you can recognize when you are over-explaining, what can you do instead? How do you respond in a way that feels both kind and confident without slipping into a 5-minute monologue? Here are some shifts you can practice. First of all, keep it simple. Start by answering only what was asked. If someone says, "Can you come tonight?" your answer can simply be, "No, I can't tonight. Thanks for asking." That's enough. You don't owe a detailed reason unless you want to share it. Replace explanations with appreciation. Instead of mentioning a reason, say something like, "I appreciate the invite, but I won't make it this time." Notice how respectful and clear that feels. No extra layers needed. Use pauses as power. If you feel the urge to keep talking, stop. Breathe and remind yourself, my answer already spoke for me. Silence doesn't mean rudeness. It means you have said what you needed. Shift the focus And if you are worried about disappointing someone, redirect the energy. For example, I can't meet this week, but I would love to catch up soon. You are still clear about your boundary while showing care. Practice permission-free answers. One of the biggest reasons we over-explain is because we unconsciously look for approval. So practice saying something small like, "No, thanks," or "That doesn't work for me," and let it stand. At first, it feels uncomfortable, but over time, it builds self-trust. The goal isn't to become cold or dismissive. The goal is to answer in a way that respects your need and respects the other person without giving away your power. And here is the beautiful thing. When you stop over-explaining, you will notice people usually accept your answers more easily than you expect. Often it was only you who thought a long explanation was necessary. This is where freedom begins, in trusting that your yes and your no already have value without needing a sales pitch to back them up. Now that you have practiced recognizing and shifting your over-explaining, let's step into the deeper mindset that makes this sustainable: self-trust. Over-explaining is rarely about the other person. It's about the habit of looking outside yourself for validation. We convince ourselves that if others understand, approve, or accept us, then we are safe, good, or worthy. But here is the truth. Your worth isn't negotiable, and your choices don't need a permission slip. Self-trust starts with this simple recognition. You don't owe anyone an explanation for living according to your values. Each time you honor a yes or a no without over-explaining, you reinforce your inner authority. You teach yourself that your voice matters, your decision matters, and your energy matters. And here is what practicing self-trust can look like in a daily life. Pausing before you speak to notice if you are explaining to clarify or explaining to seek approval. Letting a short answer stand and resisting the urge to add extra justification. And reflecting at the end of the day, where did I honor myself today and where did I give away my power by over-explaining? And remember, this isn't about shutting people out or becoming defensive. It's about standing firmly in your choices with calm confidence. So your energy is protected, your relationships are balanced, and your life aligns with your personal priorities. The people who matter don't need a speech. They respond to clarity, honesty, and presence. The rest, their opinions aren't your responsibility. So this week, notice the moments when you feel the pull to explain yourself. Pause, breathe, answer simply, and trust that your decisions, your yes and your no, are complete, respected, and enough. Because true freedom doesn't come from convincing others, it comes from trusting yourself. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Soul Time. I'm very grateful because you have given me the greatest treasure of your life, your time. If you enjoyed this episode, click the subscribe button so that you get a notification every time a new episode is out.